Russia has been trying to make sure that the Islamic Republic doesn't fall for a while now, because it wants the Islamic Republic to continue to be anti-American. They helped the Islamic Republic with their uranium enrichment plans. They bought a lot of Shahed drones from the Islamic Republic to use against Ukraine. So the Islamic Republic Shahed drones has been killing a lot of Ukrainians. They help them in the United Nations when it comes to vetoing stuff that are against the interests of the Islamic Republic, because they're a permanent member of the Security Council. So they help the Islamic Republic a lot with that. They don't want the Islamic Republic to go nuclear, but they do want it to be, they support the Islamic Republic to be, have nuclear energy. They don't want it to have a nuclear weapon, but they want it to be a threat to the West. They support the Islamic Republic with a lot of military and intelligence operations, and sell military. They do refuse sometimes to sell them. So, for example, they sold the Islamic Republic S-300s, which is an anti air defense system, but not the S-400s, because they didn't want them to be that advanced. Because Russia and China are the only two superpowers that support the Islamic Republic, they have a lot of leverage over the Islamic Republic. So they got a lot from the Islamic Republic. For example, Russia managed to get large parts of the Caspian Sea that belongs to Iran in a deal that the Islamic Republic just gave away to Russia for no apparent reason. And the Russian officials actually came out publicly and said that they were shocked that the Islamic Republic didn't even push back. So there's major parts of the Caspian Sea that belonged to Iran, and the Islamic Republic didn't even. They actually offered it to give it away, and the Russians were shocked, and they just took it and accepted it. Like, what the fuck? And these are very strategic parts of like. We're talking about billions and billions of dollars lost because of just giving that away to Russia, just because the Islamic Republic wanted to make Russia happy, because they thought that they needed Russian support. But also the Russians betrayed the Islamic Republic during the 12-day war. They were not there to support the Islamic Republic at all. So the Islamic Republic feels betrayed, but they also can't do much about it because they don't have any friends. So,
yeah. Can I ask another question? Do I have time or later? So why does Russia hate us so much? Why does Russia hate the UK and the West? Why do they hate us so much? I don't really understand that.
hate who? The West?
Russia hates the West. They hate the UK. They hate America.
Putin's philosophy believes that the world has gone off balance because there's only one main superpower in the world, and that's United States, and that's unnatural, and that has disrupted the forces of good and evil. And this is why we have trans ideology and LGBT, and the unit of family is being destroyed, and a whole bunch of shit. They like his idea is that when we had the Soviet Union and America both be superpower, they kept each other in check. Okay, we need like at least two major superpowers, right? And they think Russia should be. It's good for the world for Russia to be a superpower. And one of the worst things that has happened in history is the fall of the Soviet Union. So they're not about communism, but they are about Russian imperialism, Russia being a major big force. So Putin doesn't care about communism. Putin thinks
Really?
communism is retarded. Putin thinks communism is retarded.
Really? Okay, I didn't know that. It's fascinating.
But he does, but he believed in the Soviet Union not because of communism, but because of Russia being a major force, not because of its communism, but because it was a big political bloc, right? Against the overreach of the West, right? And he thinks like the reason why the world is going to shit is because there's nothing to keep the Western
The
power in check.
balance. Yeah.
The balance in check. So it's thinking the whole world is out of balance, and it's trying to bring back the glory of a Russian empire, and trying to bring back all the places that belong to the Soviet Union back to Russia.
Wow, thanks for that, Armin. I know more about Iran, way more about Iran than I do about Russia. So thanks, Armin. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Duck, that's yours. Who's next?
I saw Richard and then Daniel, I believe was the order.
Okay. Richard.
Hi, Armin.
Hi.
Excellent show. Had a question for you.
Thank you.
I'm just curious on your thoughts. So, I've been listening for a while, had shared your opinion really and your frustration on the outcome of the 12-day war when it looked like, Trump had basically prevented Israel from delivering what could have been the knockout blow to the Islamic Republic and basically it saved the Islamic Republic and, could be responsible for whatever the Islamic Republic does in the future. Looking at how things have played out in the time since the 12-day war, do you think it's possible that Trump and possibly also Bibi had planned this from the beginning, not necessarily to change the regime through the 12-day war, but to create the conditions on the ground necessary for the Iranian people to make that change? Or do you think that's probably giving him too much credit?
I think that's giving Trump too much credit. Not I would believe Netanyahu being this planning this long term. I don't think Trump thinks that long term. I think Trump. I mean, isn't that other people's impression of Trump as well? I think he just reacts to the last thing that just happened and decides based on that. Like, isn't that your impression as well, Richard?
It is, but looking at other things that he's done and how they've played out, it's very difficult to believe that things are going so well as a coincidence or as something that's unplanned. I think he definitely gives the impression of someone who doesn't plan ahead and it can be very impulsive. But looking at the outcomes, it I think it's at least possible that he could be some kind of genius strategic planner and is just misdirecting people.
I mean, things are working out for us. But for him, his popularity numbers are worse than ever, right? Like he's like as a president, that's what I mean, he's making more money than ever, so I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, like I've seen so many people having the right type of attitude that makes them rich and powerful, just because they're very confident and they just when they see an opportunity, they just go for it. And it's more about that mentality and the attitude that makes things work out for them, right? It's not about seeing things like 10 steps ahead. It's more about when I see an opportunity, I'll just go for it. And I'm confident and I talk about things in a way that everybody just bows down and accepts my authority and my power because of the energy that I have and the way I talk about things. I'm so alpha and I'm so confident and I'm just going to go for what I want, that everybody's just going to make way and let me have things, right? And that's what makes me rich. When you look at a lot of billionaires, it seems like that's the attitude that they have that got them there. They just believe in themselves so much that they force everyone else to believe in them as well. They're so confident about their abilities that other people think like, well, he must be disabled. How is he so confident? So everyone else believes with them because of the energy that they have.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. But the only thing I would add is just, looking at it from a historical perspective, generally regimes that are changed by imposition of any outside force tend to be less stable and perceived as less legitimate than regimes that are changed by their native populations. So, whatever the strategy was at this point, I think we can all be kind of grateful that the revolution's happening. It's looking like it's actually going to put in the right leader and that he'll be viewed, there'll be no question as to his legitimacy when he does ultimately rule the country, especially after they have free and fair referendums and elections to determine their leadership.
You said regimes that are put in there by outside forces are more stable?
And regimes that are put in place by their native populations. And I'm thinking more of Cold War regimes that we had put in back in the Pinochet regime, others in South America,
Right.
to keep communists in check. They were effective at preserving those interests, but they were generally considered less stable, less legitimate, certainly by the neighbor states. They were just seen as American puppets, right?
However, I support America for doing that because I rather between less stable and not communist and stable but communist. I think for the world less stable, and not communist is always a better option, right? So
I agree
I
with you in
think
the
that
sense that, that it's very important to that's a critical interest, right? Is keeping communist influence out of American allied nations. I'm thinking more long term. Those regimes that America installed didn't last after the Cold War. Many of them, actually transitioned into anti-American governments later, and use those regimes as sort of propaganda tools to say that there's been foreign imposed influence in the country, that we need to have a native. So long term, certainly for Iran, I would much rather see someone like Prince Reza keeping the country as an American ally, as a world's interest ally, long term, far beyond. I'm thinking 20, 30, 40 years down the road.
long term. What do you mean? Sorry. 30, 40 years down the road. What again?
I wouldn't want to see the same thing happen in Iran happen in South America. That's all I'm saying.
If you have Pahlavi, that will not happen. I think that's
right.
That's the best solution.
Well, if you have Pahlavi that's elected in a referendum by his people, it's going to be a much stronger perceived legitimacy than if there's an argument that he was installed by a foreign power, any foreign power.
Yeah, because here's the thing. I think, I am a lot more realist than I used to. The thing is that if the people of a country choose wrong and they're a threat to the world order, I think it's fine to go against the wish of the people for the sake of stability around the world. But the Iranian people are not going to choose wrong. The Iranian people want secular democracy. But back during the Cold War, we're talking about people being fooled by communism. And communism was swallowing the whole planet. And America did many things that it looks and sounds immoral, right? And unfair to the people who live there. But if you look at, I think America saved the whole world from a potential communist takeover, right? And it was against the will of the people there, but the people were choosing wrong.
I think to this day, most people have no idea the level of malign influence and the tactics that the Soviets were using to basically take over the world. It hasn't really been taught very well. But if you research it and you look into it, it's terrifying. If it wasn't for America in those days,
the world would look very different right now. The problem is that communism is so appealing. It's very deceptive. And the promises are really easy to fall for, especially among young people, to make it seem like something very, very appealing. And that's why it spreads so fast if you don't fight back against it. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my God, BT, are you giving up? Oh my God, BT.
She said she can't hear Richard. Tom, can you say something in case BT
can you hear me?
Can you
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you now.
I can hear you.
Okay, I hear Armin and see
Can you hear
him.
me?
Okay.
I hear Samantha and see her. I see Daniel. I see Tom. But anytime anybody else speaks, the box does not light up and I don't hear them. So it's just Armin
nothing from
like
me?
having a conversation with his mind.
Oh.
Do you hear Daniel right now? Daniel, say something.
Anything? Hello? No.
Did you hear Daniel?
No, I can see his mouth.
You can hear me.
Why is this
Terrible.
happening?
Can you hear Tom?
No, your social
Same thing for me.
I heard that. Who's
that was
Oscar.
That's me, but same thing for me.
I think I'm working now. My voice isn't working. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, BT heard Oscar.
Okay.
So if this happens in another time, I could. I don't know what to do.
BT, get pro help. Just get help from someone professional if you can't fix it out yourself.
I think.
Let's go here.
Okay. All right, BT. Well, I don't know what to do. What if I? No. Okay. Can you make a new account and try that? BT.
Well, what is Oscar's issue? He agrees that he can't see other people hear other people as well.
Oscar left. I think he left to come back. I don't know where he is right now. But can you try? Can you try making a new account and see if that helps?
This is members only stream. So
well, is it also
your account
Oscar?
will not be able to
then
join.
It might not be me.
No, Oscar is not. Oscar, is it? Are you having the same issue? Can you let us know? Oscar, he's here.
Only I wasn't hearing Daniel either, but I was
What?
able to hear BT and you, Armin. Yeah, like it looked like you were having a conversation with yourself.
Daniel, can you count to
I-
5?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Did you hear that?
No.
Ah.
Fucking hell. All right.
This platform sometimes
Okay.
be a bit buggy,
Here's what
but-
I will do. Here's what I would do. Here's what I would do. From now on, if somebody asks me a question, I will just repeat their question. Oscar, I'm hearing myself back from your.
Armin is echoing from us. Yeah.
No, it was from Oscar's microphone. He closed his mic, so I'm not echoing anymore. Okay, so from now on, so if somebody is speaking and you don't hear them, just write it in the chat that I don't hear Daniel. I'll just summarize what that person said, and then we'll move forward like that. Is that a good solution, BT and Oscar?
I mean, temporarily, yes.
Okay.
Is
Hopefully, school.
Having this issue?
It's only you and Oscar, but hopefully, school will fix this bug at some point. I'll
Okay.
report it, and hopefully, it will be fixed.
Okay.
By the way, I think Elad was also on the list. So we had
Yes,
Richard.
So it was
Okay,
Daniel,
cool.
Elad, and then it was hold on, I believe Andrew. I think. Right?
Okay.
I think so.
So Daniel, it's you. Nobody like BT and Oscar can't hear you, but okay, go
Okay.
ahead.
I'll try not to say anything important. So regarding 12-day war, Netanyahu named it Am Kilavi Yakum, so nation as a lion will rise. On the day before he launched the operation, he put a piece of paper in the Western Wall, like how they pray. And on the paper, he wrote the same thing, that a nation as a lion will rise. Even though this is a biblical line, and you can interpret it as saying that the Israeli nation will rise, and in fact, afterwards, Bibi congratulated Israel for their lion-like resilience in the 12-day war. I see the choice of this name as at least expressing a hope that Iranians will rise up as a direct result of the 12-day war. It's like, I feel like it's a little bit more on the nose in Hebrew than it is in English. I think it's Operation Rising Lion in English. But why I originally raised my hand, Armin, you said that the IRGC sells VPNs. So does this mean that the IRGC can see internet traffic of people who buy their VPNs? And if so, why would anyone do this instead of trying to buy a different VPN?
Okay, so for people who didn't hear that, Daniel was mentioned that when Netanyahu, before the 12-day war, he put a prayer in the Wailing Wall referring to a lion, and Daniel's assessment is that that lion was also referring, the rising lion in that message was also referring to the Iranian people rising up because of the Iranian lion. Okay, and then his question is about why would Iranian people buy VPNs from IRGC, and given that the IRGC is now going to be able to see what the Iranian people are doing, right? Well, and yet the answer is yes. And so you ask a question whether IRGC will be able to see your activities if you're buying IRGC VPNs, and the answer is yes, they do, and they spy on Iranian people using not just the VPNs, but also Iranian apps. Okay, so for example, you in Iran, you might be just downloading an app for your bank, and the IRGC has put something in there that sees all your contacts, sees all your messages and everything. The problem is that what the hell do you do, right? Like you need these apps for your living, right? So, and also the other VPNs, right? If they want to buy foreign VPNs, those are costly. So a lot of Iranians try to save money by buying the IRGC made. I mean, they don't come with IRGC written on it, right? They have cool names. So a lot of Iranians think like maybe, hopefully, it's not IRGC, right? But it is IRGC, right? But if you want to be safe, a lot of Iranians try to get there, and they can't. By the way, Iranians, they don't have credit cards, right? Because they're completely cut off from the global banking system. So they have to get their Iranian friends or family outside of Iran to use their credit card to get them NordVPN or ExpressVPN or something like that. So the people who want to be safe, they have to try to get somebody, an Iranian outside of Iran, to buy them a VPN. I know the US government had a program that was buying Iranians VPNs. I don't know how many people were using that, but the VPN talk in Iran is big. Like people switch VPNs, people like there's like a whole groups discussions about what is the best VPN now. I was using this free VPN yesterday, but it was working for me yesterday. It's not working for me now. So this is like a huge topic, and people switch between VPNs trying to find. It's a big topic because people need it. But here's the thing: you have to be on VPN because so many things are blocked that you can't do business unless you have a VPN. Like people, like Instagram. I hope a lot of people understand. Instagram is not just for fun. Like people's businesses are based on being able to sell their company, like their products, and advertise their services on Instagram. On social media is the way for people to market and get known, and make people aware that they have something to offer. There's something like any company these days needs social media. So when people it's just like people need access to, especially Instagram and in Iran, Telegram, WhatsApp, Instagram. These are like for anybody who's trying to make money. These are essential. Like, what are you going to do? How are you going to tell people like that you have a business? Like send them, like you're going to call them, like you're going to send them mail, like how, like that's the social media is the way. So that's why everybody has to have VPN. And the Islamic Republic tried to come up with alternative social media that they made themselves, and they suck. So people are still just using Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, stuff like that. I don't know. Does that answer your question, Daniel?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right. So, Duck Dodgers, I think the next one is Elad. Hopefully, people can hear Elad, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. BT, let me know in the chat if you hear Elad. Elad, go ahead.
Hey, can you hear me? Can you
Oh,
hear me?
well,
I
no,
can.
he's talking. Yeah, I can hear you. He just spoke right
Okay.
now. BT, did you hear him?
Okay.
Okay, go on. You go ahead. Oh, nothing. Okay, I have to
So,
summarize you as well.
okay. Well, I was also glitching at first, and I had to log out and log in like 20 times. I don't know. I mean, I wanted to ask you about the role of the Shah in the future, like democracy that we're talking about in Iran. How do you enforce the his role? I mean, is he supposed to be like the protector of the constitution? Can he tell the parliament to disperse? And what would be his roles, and how can you enforce it? Because officially in Britain, the king can do it, but he never does it. And actually, Elizabeth II thought about it several times. And I think in the 60s she got really bad press because she actually agreed to nominate another prime minister without consulting the parliament or something like that, and it was a big deal. Like, how do you enforce it?
Okay, so thank you, Samantha. Samantha is writing in the chat what other people who can't be heard are saying. So thank you so much for that, Samantha. Okay, so how could the Shah's what is the Shah's role, and how could it be enforced? So I have my own view, but what the Shah's role is going to be determined by the constitution, right? So in Iran, if and when the regime, the Islamic Republic, is gone, first we're going to have a referendum, and the Iranian people are going to vote in that referendum, and they're going to choose between a republic and a constitutional monarchy. Both of them are going to be secular democracies. And then in that referendum, if the Iranian people choose for a constitutional monarchy, that means that we're going to have a parliament, a prime minister, and a king or a queen, right? And so obviously for the parliament, people are going to vote for that. But before we get to the elections for the parliament, we need an election for the members of the Council of the Founders, which are going to be the people who are going to be writing the Constitution, right? People would vote and pick the Council of the Founders, and they will write a Constitution and present that to the people. And then we're going to have a referendum to see if we agree or disagree on the Constitution. And if we disagree, they're going to have to rewrite it. And then once the Iranian people agree, then in that Constitution is going to determine the role of the king if in the referendum we have voted for the constitutional monarchy. So basically, the way that the Iranian people will be able to choose the role of the king is by voting for the people they think will come up with the. So if we have elections, I'm pretty sure that the people who are the candidates for that council will say what their views are on what the role of the king should be, and the people would vote on the people who represent their views the best. They are going to decide what the role of the king is going to be. What I personally think the role of the king should be, I think the king in Iran should not be as symbolic and limited as in the UK or in other constitutional monarchies in Europe. One, because we have a different culture and a different history, and our kings, like during the Pahlavi time at least, our king was the protector of our constitution, even when the parliament was going against the constitution, for example, during Mossadegh's time. So I personally think that the king needs to be the protector of the constitution and not let the prime minister or the entire parliament go rogue. Okay, so it needs to be able to remove the prime minister or any other minister that is going against the constitution. I think that should be at least one of the roles of the king, right? And I think that is basically very much in line with a liberal republic, because a republic is a system where democracy is limited, either based on the constitution or based on the Supreme Court or based on any other institution that is trying to limit the majority rule to the point that, so that we don't have the tyranny of the majority. So any limitation on majority rule will be in line with having a liberal republic rather than having an absolute democracy. And given that we are also going to be a new democracy, I think it requires some, like a father-like figure protecting, because a new democracy is very fragile and it might break apart. So having the king making sure that everything, the framework is protected, and the instability of the democratic methods in the country doesn't break everything apart, because democracy is messy, and that's why you want to have a republic, not an absolute democracy, so that democracy doesn't break everything apart. And I think that would be a really good role for the king, to maintain everything in place and make sure that we don't, once we come up with the constitution, we abide by it. So how is it enforced? So political power comes from three sources. We have popular support, which is one sort of political power, and then we have economic power, and then we have military power. And usually the strongest one is military power, but the source of military power comes from economic power, and economic power comes from the people. But eventually it's the military, because what is a state? A state is the institution that has the monopoly over violence. The state is the institution that we as a nation have decided to give up. We create a nation state when the nation decides that the rest of the nation gives up on violence and allows only the institution where we call the state to have all the monopoly on violence. So that's what the role of the police and the military is, to have, So if everybody could do violence, it's going to be chaotic. So we all give up the right to do violence and we all give it to the state. So the state uses the power of violence or force so that nobody else does violence. That's the whole point of having the state, right? And it does that with its military and its armed forces. So when you say how it's enforced, it's always enforced by having the military. And that's why when you are coming up with the structure of your government, you need to make sure who's going to be the commander of the armed forces. Because
But then,
everything
but then,
else,
but then,
yeah,
Armin, you know that no matter what the referendum says, a fraction of the population will be Republican, and so they will constantly be challenging the rights of the king to use it, and also they will say like he might be abusing the power or whatever. Like, you know, that's how it happened in the United Kingdom. They didn't lose the power all at once. They can legally today even call for elections and disperse the parliament, but they won't do it because they've already lost the power de facto.
yeah. So there's a difference between what you have on paper and what you actually can do. For example, the king or the queen in the UK on paper can do something, but in effect, they can never do it. Because if they actually use that power, everybody would turn on them and remove them from power. So it's unimaginable for them to ever do that. It would be just so unpopular. And it shows how much the, again, this goes back to what I'm saying. Political power comes from people support, economic power, and military power. It's not based on the stuff that you write on a piece of paper. It's based on what can actually enforce what you're writing on that piece of paper, right? So if you write like, oh, the king can do this, but the king doesn't have the power, if he actually tries to do it and everything is against it, if the military power and economic power and people are against the king doing that, and the king doesn't have enough power to say like, well, it's written here that I could do it, so I should be able to do it. So technically, then the king doesn't actually have that power, even if you write it on a piece of paper that they have the power. So instead of looking at what's written, you have to look at the power behind what is written. Because if a law is not enforceable, it doesn't even exist. Right? So, this is why it's very important that when you're coming up with the political structure, you need to see who is controlling what. Especially if this is why we want to make sure that government doesn't have much control over the economy, because it has already too much control over the violence, over military force. So this is why a government that has the army, but also a huge segment of the economy, now you're centralizing power too much, and the government is becoming too powerful. So this is why privatization is very important, because we already have given the military and the police to the government. The private sector is going to be too weak compared to the government, and the government will be able to force its way on the people if we also give it a major part of the economy. So, and even within the government, now that we have given it such a powerful tool, which is the military, we still have to be worried, because that is actually stronger than everything else. Like with the military, you can gain like a portion of your nation's economy. So when you have a military, then you need to politically come up with a structure where you're decentralizing your government. So you need separations of power. That's why we want to, this is a Montesquieu invention, where you have the judiciary separated from the executive, separated from the legislative, to make sure that not too much political power is in one area. You just like in the private sector, you want companies to be against each other. In the government, you want different parts of the government to actually be against each other, to keep each other in check. And you're saying, when you say like, oh, there's going to be a whole bunch of people who are going to be challenging the role of the king because they disagree with it, well, that's fine. That's how it's supposed to be. In a liberal republic, you want this tension to exist. This tension within your politics is actually a feature, not a bug, because you want different parties to be challenging each other, because it's only through this challenge, it's only through this competition that a Darwinian process is created, and only the best systems and the best methods and the best values survive. So getting challenged and other people disagreeing with you is not a bug, it's a feature.
I don't
Right?
know if I agree with you. I mean, say the British public overwhelmingly today want the king to decide the
Last question.
the
We
parliament.
go to other people.
Right. I'm sorry.
No, that's
But
good. Go ahead.
but if he comes and actually does it, even if the public wants him to do it, I'm not sure that it will actually happen, because officially he has the power, but he doesn't.
Well, we don't know yet. We haven't yet had the, like right now in Iran, we don't have the government. We don't know who controls the military. So we have to see. Andrew has been waiting for a long time to speak. So whether he will have the power or not, we need to see. Like, just because they don't have it in the UK, it doesn't mean that it's going to be the same in Iran. So if we want a king that actually has power, we need to make sure that we structure it in a way that it's not just on paper, but it also is in reality. But we are not there yet, so we cannot judge it right now. Okay. Okay. So sorry, Andrew, and I know you've been waiting for long, but that was but Elad, I really enjoyed. I was waiting for somebody to ask me these questions because this is something I really wanted to talk about. So sorry for cutting it off, but Andrew has been waiting for a while. So Andrew, go ahead.
Thank you, Armin. I really appreciated your explanation on what is possible. I have a different view about separation of powers and military and economics and the role of government and redistribution of wealth and so on, but it's not for today. I wanted to address what I perceive to be coming from Canada. There are many of us who are beginning to feel that the American state is going to threaten us in 2026. And I've never had that feeling in my entire life living next to the United States. In Quebec, they have a saying, pardon my French, grosse corvette, petit caquette, which translates into English as big car, little penis. And it's how I view the current crop of the Trump administration. I see them interested in power and what they want to do, and how they go about doing it is of very little interest to them. Somebody the other day said they can see the world shaking down into, you were mentioning Armin, or perhaps somebody was saying that Putin wanted to regain the role of Russia as a superpower. He's going to have a long way to go. His current economy is less than the state of California's. Somebody was saying that between Russia and China and the United States, they're going to divide the world, which would be interesting, but that would certainly diminish the role of the United States as a superpower. Will that come to pass? Who knows? Trump has expressed interest in our water. He's called us the 51st state. He has done whatever he's done to Epstein Venezuela, and he's looks like they're going to turn his mushroom shaped, you know what, towards Greenland. I think that this is. I don't see how anybody can give Trump a pass. What is Epstein Venezuela? There's a lot of people in North America, Daniel, that believe that the invasion of Venezuela was yet another way to distract from what his proclivities towards young women as found in the Epstein files. So Epstein Venezuela is what I'm calling the country now. I know that this is a minority opinion here. I know that I am probably the only person on the left.
Samantha is a
Nail Bunny thinks this is idiotic, so she must know more. She must know more than I do.
Samantha is a communist, so I think you're not the only leftist here.
Oh, Mazel Tov! Where are you, Samantha?
Hello.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
My
so
rant is over.
Okay, Andrew, can you hear me? I think he's just letting in the dogs. Yeah. Okay. So you can hear me. All right. So with regards to Canada, I mean, I don't know if what is Trump going to do? Like invade Canada? Is that something that you're considering? Like military invade Canada? I don't see that happening. Like, what's the concern here?
His supporters have given a lot of money to the province of Alberta to fund a referendum on the separation of Alberta from
All right.
Canada. Alberta is the place
Okay,
where the oil
so it's
is.
going to be okay. Those are going to be some people's choices. I mean, if Trump manages to pay people like enough to get Greenland or parts of Canada, I don't know if that's even likely. But if it happens, then it means it's happening voluntarily because people decided that this is in their financial interest. It's not like a military invasion. So,
Yeah,
what
well, you
is
see, it's in their financial, but you talked about the tyranny of the majority earlier on, and I wondered about that because I wonder about the tyranny of the minority. I'm a little bit more worried about that than I am the tyranny of the majority.
Okay. This is not the tyranny of the majority, given that we have like it would be the tyranny. Okay, so for people who can't hear, Andrew is concerned about Trump taking parts of Canada. And I'm telling him that as long as it's not a military invasion, who cares? Because it's about if we could convince people by giving them something that they want, that the like parts of Canada is going to be part like join America, as long as it's voluntarily. Like, why are we against that? And Andrew's saying that this is tyranny of the minority. Canada is the federal country, right? It means the rest of Canada doesn't get to decide if a province wants to, basically leave Canada, right?
No, that's not true. That's not true. If there would be I mean, we faced this in Quebec in the 80s.
Right.
And one question was, if Canada is divisible, why isn't Quebec? Could Montreal then separate from the new state of Quebec and become the Grand Duchy of Montreal?
But who voted? Well, it was only Quebec that voted. The rest of Canada
during the referendums?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
So that means I'm correct. So only the province gets, the rest of Canada doesn't, because Canada is federal. That means that if a province wants to leave Canada, the rest of Canada doesn't have a say. If only that province by itself decides that they want to leave, they get to leave. So that means, for example, that means Alberta doesn't belong to the rest of Canada. Alberta belongs to Alberta, and if Alberta wants to leave, it gets to leave without the rest of Canada having a say. If you want to put a referendum, only Albertans have to vote. The rest of Canada doesn't have a say. So if you're a federal,
however,
that's how.
However, as it turned out, and I'm not grateful. I have, Elon. I think you're totally wrong. I don't like the administration. I love the people. I don't like this American administration.
Okay, but let's do one conversation at a time.
Look,
Ignore the chat.
what is happening when you listen to the separatists in Alberta? They're saying, yes, we want to separate. We want to determine our own future with respect to oil and things like that. However, we would like to have the Canadian pension plan. However, we would like to keep the Canadian dollar. The separation is never creating a new country. It's creating just a duchy. It's
okay. But if that's a process. Okay, if Alberta wants to leave Canada, if it's possible to get with the things that they want or not, this is going to be based, like, this is all going as a legal process. It's an economic process. It's not an invasion. It's not a military takeover. It's a completely legal political process. And if you don't like it and Albertans like it and they make it work and Americans make it work and Albertans make it work, well, yeah, this is how politics works. Like they went through the legal processes and they managed to do something that was in their interest and it wasn't in your interest. This is not an invasion. Like, this is just how politics works. Like, I don't see any issue with that. But if Alberta or Greenland, if Trump manages to find a way, and I don't think he will manage to find a way. I don't know, but if he manages to find a way to convince people there that I'll come, join America, and they have a referendum in Alberta, and the people of Alberta decide that they would be better in America than Canada. I mean, when you created Canada, you decided that you wanted to be a federal state. And that's how federal states work. If a province decides to go, the rest of the country has no say. And also, when Quebec was deciding to separate from Canada, their referendum was also no other Canadians were involved in that referendum. Only people from Quebec were involved in that referendum. So this is how Canada's laws work. I mean, if you don't like it, then you should complain about why Canadian laws have been written. Why did you decide to become a federal state? But that's how federal states work.
And apparently we had, this is according to AI, so AI sometimes makes up legal cases, but I think this one's correct. We had a ruling in 1998. The Supreme Court of Canada ruled unanimously that there's no right for a province to effect the unilateral secession. They had the referendum, but they didn't actually successfully leave.
Because they didn't get majority vote. So it says, there's a very specific legal path for how it could happen, which was clarified by the Supreme Court of Canada following the 1995 Quebec referendum. So
our chat
a
box
province
disagree?
can officially, a province cannot just leave by its own, but there is a loophole, I think. I don't know. Let me read. A province can hold a vote to ask its citizens if they want to leave. However, the Supreme Court ruled in the 1998 secession referendum that for a vote to be taken seriously, it must have a clear question and a clear majority. Okay. So I don't understand. Then how is, so if Quebec had a clear majority and a clear question,
there was an issue with that the question was not really phrased very clearly in the Quebec referendum.
Yeah, but the court is, yeah, that's true. But the court didn't say that the rest of Canada should have decided as well. Like they said, your question was not clear and you didn't have a clear majority. They didn't say that, oh, people from Vancouver or Toronto should be able to participate in the referendum as well. That's not what the court said.
I think the only way to decide this is to read the legal opinion.
The 98 Supreme Court ruling is almost 20 years past the 80 referendum. So maybe that has some issue on it. They took a look at it after we came close with Quebec.
I also want to respond to the whole Epstein thing, because we don't actually have any evidence that Trump had anything to do with children. Like, I'm not saying he didn't, but we don't actually have any evidence. So that accusation requires...
Trump was accused of sexual assault by an older woman, and the Epstein files have not been released by the Department of Justice.
True. I'm sorry, that's not true. He was not found guilty.
What do you mean it's not true?
He was not found guilty of that. No, he was not. That's not true. Look it up.
They settled.
He was found guilty. What's the name of the woman in?
I think you have Stormy Daniels.
Not Stormy. No. She's the one that described his penis as mushroom shaped, something that I appreciate greatly.
Andrew, I thought this man was talking about the woman who won the libel suit against Trump. Basically, he had disparaged her after a false allegation of rape, and then she had sued him civilly. He was found liable for that payment, but there was never a finding that there was an actual sexual assault that occurred.
Exactly.
Actually, this is Jean Carroll.
Richard, I thought the opposite, to tell you the truth. I thought that there was a sexual assault, and in the courts ruled that in this case sexual assault was equivalent to rape.
They're separate issues. I just wanted to give you a quick comment on Canadian referendums. I'm originally from Quebec. My grandfather, who was living there in '89 at the time of that referendum, actually was sent home on election day. They told him he already voted. He found out several weeks later that he had voted, putting that in quotes, to separate. Obviously, that didn't happen, and he was not in favor of separation. So I don't put a lot of credibility in those elections.
Okay, but Andrew, I mean, we changed even the subject. You're now talking about another rape accusation, and also said, oh, a whole bunch of women said some. I mean, women saying something is not proof of anything. I'm talking about, you specifically said that Trump, we know Trump, I don't know, does likes to, I don't know, have sex with children because of Epstein files. That specific accusation, we don't actually have any evidence for that.
We do have evidence of that. We
Where?
we have people that have said it in the past and now are afraid to come forward. I can't give you chapter and verse. I can't give you names.
People saying things is not evidence, Andrew. You know that.
Well, this is the closest that we've gotten so far. But as you know,
which is not evidence.
As you know, the Epstein files have not been released completely. And
which means we have no evidence.
We have no evidence yet.
When you say that Epstein's file hasn't been released, that means we have no evidence. So we cannot make that accusation.
Actually, I've got a medical thing I've got to attend to. See you next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
Yeah, Nail Bunny, you wanted to chime in, and then Cat Lady raised her hand after, and then I believe Richard. So that's the order that I saw.
Okay.
Yeah, mainly I just raised my hand because Ahmed, he actually posted something in the chat, and it was a tweet it's from Visegrad, and it's basically, I can read it to you. It's essentially an assassination being filmed. I retweeted it and tagged you, Orman. It says the moment of the assassination of Mahmoud Haqiqat, don't know how to pronounce that, sorry, commander of the police station in Iran, Iran. He was the former head of the city's intelligence and was responsible for cracking down on anti-regime ballots in the city. It's pretty brutal to watch, but anyway, I just wanted you to see that. But if you want to go see it, you can click on it. He posted a little while ago now. Yes, he's there.
Armin, is it like Hakikatu, pronounced the same, I guess?
It's Haqiqat, which means truth.
I posted it, and I believe it's at sunrise on Wednesday, by the way.
Okay, breaking the moment.
I know.
What's happening?
Whoa. He's looking at the tweet.
The moment of the assassination.
Video.
Oh my God.
What just happened?
So,
yeah, what's happening?
Somebody in Iran, is this like Iranian people just assassinated a commander of the police station, and they posted the video of that assassination in the chat.
So I checked and I saw some news about it from 11 hours ago. So that's why I'm guessing that this happened at sunrise. You can see that the sun is really low.
Does anyone know what kind of a gun is it? Anyone?
It looks like a Kalashnikov.
Because if anyone knows the specifics, it would be interesting to know. It might be telling stuff. Because it's white.
The most common gun in the world. No, it's black and brown.
Oh,
just look at the video.
I saw it. It looked so weird. Oh yeah, I can see now why I saw it white. Okay, never mind.
Oh my God! If this is true, is Weisgard like a credible source?
Yeah,
very much.
Yeah.
He's a great guy, by the way. He's a Polish guy, I think, and he's a very credible guy.
But they do exaggerate with what they present.
If this is true, this is going to scare the shit out of it. These people are not as brave as many people think. I think this is going to scare the shit out of the other people within the armed forces. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm watching it in repeat. Is this really happening?
They're really like organizing themselves like this? That's interesting.
It's a really good shot too.
And they filmed it.
You know where he is.
If they know where he lives, works, and the car that he drives, they know the path that he takes to work. That shouldn't be that hard to find. But
yeah, but
like the guy is very calm. He looks like he knows what he's doing, and he's recording it.
That's what I'm saying, Armin. That's not just like, that's very organized, at least, if not professional.
And the fact that they recorded it to me suggests that they wanted to scare other people, or else why record it and release the video? Like, for me, this seems to be a message.
Well, it's the same day as the message to the, you know, all the forces, basically, that, you know, unless you join now, you'll
Right.
be punished. I think it's part of that,
By
maybe.
the way, did you see the cop that, like, the commander of I don't know what, that talked on TV and looked so scared, like he was about to
No.
faint? Didn't you see?
No,
Uh,
post the link.
oh my God, I can find it now. Where did I see it? He was talking like, if anybody, we will take revenge and this, and he was like white in his face. I'll try to find it in a while. Okay.
Tora is saying it. Show it, Armin. Show us on screen share. I can't show. I don't want to show you a video of an assassination on school. We might lose our community. So just watch it on X. I don't know what's allowed to show here.
You can still post the X link though on school, can't you?
Yeah, we can, because we're not, like, it's on X. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's out there.
yeah.
So just to confirm, this is one of, like, the bad guys, putting it in simple terms, getting killed by the Iranian uprising, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it looks like.
Okay, good.
That's what Visegrad is hosting. So yeah.
Oh, Armin, in what part of the country is it? Maybe it will help us to understand how come they were like armed and so calm and filmed it, and like, you know, is it like in a part of the country that fits?
This might be this. Is this you guys? Is this Mossad? Is this you guys? Be honest with me. Is this you guys?
GCHQ.
Never ask.
Maybe.
Armin, I think I told you a couple of days ago that I would be shocked if a substantial number of the revolutionaries were not already armed. I know it's not being widely reported, but I just have a pretty good instinct on this.
Honestly, that really looks like a professional hit. I mean, that is a moving vehicle leaning out a car
it's
and
not
nailing
just
multiple. I mean, the basically the bullets are, you know, the cluster of the bullets. I mean, that
at least
well
some
that guy has done this before.
Yeah.
Is at least trained, at least a little bit, like at least.
I'd say
So this is in Iran. This is in Iran Shah, which is southeast of Iran, close to Pakistan, which is a more armed part of the country. Like, it has been a more armed part of the country. Be careful, guys, because it might all of a sudden come out that this has nothing to do with the protest and this is a Baluchi separatist, because they know what they like. They know how to use a gun. Most of the Iranian people who are doing the uprising, they don't know how to, like, they're not this good with a gun. They're just normal people with normal lives who are just wanting Pahlavi back. So the fact that this guy really knows what he's doing might mean that he's like a separatist group or something like that.